Right, I'm going to hand over to you guys,
Okay,
and I'll
thanks,
be back with
Katie.
some questions later.
Come back soon with questions, I hope. Hi everyone, I'm Mia Masson and I'm from Swapcard. I'm the head of content, and I said this whole spiel yesterday, I'm not going to say it again, but basically my job is just speaking to people, finding out what is going on in the industry, hearing your stories and your experiences and using that to create content. And I really want you to ask questions, or even if it's not a question, it's just a comment and you feel you can contribute something. There's people here that know much more than I do, so please, let's make this interactive. It's the last session of the day. I mean, everyone probably just wants to go and have a pint, so let's make it interactive. Katie, jump up on stage anytime there's a question, tell us, interrupt us, no problem. Yes, so I'm very, very happy to share. This is the first time I'm sharing the stage with my colleague Jamal. He's one of my favorite, most talented colleagues, and I'm going to let him speak. Go, tell the people who you are and why they should listen to you.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. First of all, thank you everyone for staying. I know it's the end of the day and we want to get to the pub, so I'll try and make this as painless as possible. But my name is Jamal Duncan. I've been an account executive for Swapcard for the last 12 months, so I'm new to tech. It's my first time on stage. But my experiences in the event organisation is with DMG, Informa, and EMAP. EMAP is where I had my first sort of touch with virtual platforms, and I was selling them, sponsorship, sales. So I'm hoping to share some best practices and things that I've learned along the way with you here today. So please do ask questions, and I look forward to speaking with you all. Mia.
Yes, so we're going to speak about what we've just called the state of virtual and hybrid in 2021, and what a state it is, right? For those of you that don't know what Swapcard is, this is Event Tech Live, so I think you do, but that's just a quick visual. We have a platform for virtual, hybrid, in-person events and communities without borders. Anyway, so what I find, really, really cool about the industry at the moment, and a lot of my friends here will attest to that, is that with this, I'm not going to use the word pivot because I hate it, the virtual revolution that we've undergone as an industry over the last 20 months has really, given tech platforms, tech companies, amazing opportunities to do big things and make big changes. Swapcard was founded in 2013, and it used to be just an in-person events platform for on-site, like finding your way around a 20,000 booth exhibition hall and meeting people, meaningful connections on site. And then, of course, we went virtual with our clients last year, and since then we have run now over 4,000 virtual and hybrid events on Swapcard. Of those 4,000 virtual and hybrid events, a lot of them have been Jamal's clients, and he's the one in touch with them daily, talking about their challenges and what they, are experiencing. So why don't you tell us a bit about what they've learned from this transition to virtual?
Yeah, thank you, Mia. I would love to say all 4,000 of them are mine, but I've got an amazing team behind me that that power it and do a lot of the work. But there's no getting away with the fact. I think prior to COVID, the event industry was not stale, but it was stagnant. And I think a lot of my event organisers would be honest to say that they were struggling to get numbers on the floor. Attendee numbers were low. I think with exhibitors were struggling to sort of, spend their money. They've got to sell up to their hierarchy and convince their hierarchy why they need to spend the money and generate leads and the return on investment, and they just weren't generating enough leads. But I think COVID itself had probably sped up the inevitable, I think it forced the industry to change, it forced the industry to pivot. And I think Swapcard was there, obviously, to help. It was on the curve. But credit to the event industry for pivoting with that and ultimately keeping people in the job, keeping people in work and keeping the events running. So I think that the industry has learned that it needs to be resilient and we need to be flexible.
Okay, so we are aware that it has been challenging, but what have been the positive results that you've seen from that you and your clients have seen from that?
Yeah, many. It's a good question. It's opened a lot of new doors, I think. Let's take people with access, for example, so accessibility. Attendees maybe with physical disability or struggling with finance, they've been able to attend virtual events where maybe they couldn't attend in-person events.
Or like probably people that just had a rough night last night, went out late, and are probably in their hotels up the road streaming this.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
accessibility.
Yeah, of course. Event organisers, they've been able to grow their events where maybe they wouldn't have been. They can compete, their SMEs can compete with the enterprise companies. We've seen regional events turn into national events and national events turn into international events. So there's been a lot of opportunity, you know. But however, with virtual, you always are going to get your challenges. And I know that Mia ran the Evolve community last year back in May. What sort of challenges did you face? Or?
So the Evolve community is just this kind of online community of event profs. There's now 13,500 and something of them. It started in March last year as a way for us to just exhibit this brand new virtual platform and help clients understand how it works by letting them attend a virtual event on our platform in the shoes of an attendee. It was a great success. In fact, the community asked us to prolong the event, the content, the networking opportunities, and it started with 4,000 registrations at the first one, and then got much bigger and grew into this big community we have today. It's still open from May 2020. But you know, a lot of the challenges we faced there, even in the first event, the very first, like most strict lockdown that we were in, everyone was literally just at home in sweatpants. We still had engagement issues with the virtual audience. We are not event organizers, we're a tech platform, so we were kind of winging it, and we didn't know how long a session should be in order to make it engaging. We didn't know what kind of tools we needed to make a virtual session engaging. Luckily, we've learned since then, but that was one of our biggest challenges, I would think. Did your clients see the same? I mean, what were their challenges?
90% I would say the same thing. It's always two things. It's networking and it's engagement. You know, how do we get people to network on virtual platforms? And I hear Zoom fatigue a lot. I think my key things that I would say for it, you get different personality traits, you know. You get some that are introvert, some that are extrovert. You know, the introverts don't always want to jump on a face-to-face call. They don't. They may want to, it's true, but they may want to speak through audio only or text, or, you know, they may add a comment to polls or chat. So if you're in sales and you're looking for those sort of key buying signals, you know, don't always just expect to speak face-to-face, you know. For those that are at home as well, it's so easy to lose concentration, you know. I lose concentration just getting up and going to the bathroom, but it's true, but, you know, like, the doorbell goes because it's the Amazon man, or, you know, turn on your notifications. You've got a smart device, turn on your Apple Watch or your iPhone, so if you do get up, and you know you go and answer the door, that your constant reminders, and you won't miss your key sessions that you're planned in to see, or you won't miss your meetings. So
I've got a question.
Yes.
You said throw in some questions, so I've got a question for you both.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about engagement today and keeping people engaged. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but when I watch Netflix, which is a lot, I always have my phone in my hand. I'm sorry, it's guilty. It's a second screen, right? We're the second screen generation.
For sure.
So if we're watching content virtually and we're second screening, is that a bad thing?
It's bad for your eyes.
I don't know. I don't know. Sorry to throw that at you, but a lot of people have spoken about it. But you're right. You know, a doorbell might ring and you might get distracted. So you're not engaging with exhibitors. But what about the content? What do you think? You've got 4,000 events. Have you seen anyone whose engagement is like, wow, okay, they've really nailed it? And, you know, what did they do to do that?
Yeah.
Off the bat, it's about the speakers. Yeah. You need engaging speakers, more so in virtual than in real life, because it's tough for you guys to not listen to me because you're literally sitting in front of me. That would be rude. I could see it and you'd be embarrassed. But virtually, like, you can't see the audience. So the speakers have got to, this is weird, but like in terms of makeup and facial expressions and all of that, it's important because 90% of like non-verbal communication is lost when you're speaking virtually. So you've got to exaggerate everything else. There's very few speakers that can actually really maintain the audience attention virtually, but that's the first thing for me.
And also you mentioned sort of like the Netflix style. You know, what's fantastic with virtual is you've got the on-demand content. So people get to flick and choose what they want to watch. So, you know, if you're having your live in-session sessions now and you've got them on demand later, you know, people may not necessarily watch our conversation now, but in the coming days, they may select back and view that. So it's important for people to have options.
Yeah.
I actually have some data if you want for that.
Yeah, please.
I love some data.
As if we'd planted that question. We didn't. But no, I actually do have some data about it because we have this amazing data squad in our Swapcard team, and they're just fantastic because you can send them a message saying, I want to know this, this, and that from the data within our platform, whether it be from, you know, events that were run there by ourselves or by clients who are looking to extract and analyze that data now, as they rightly should be doing. And so I told them, can you dig into the Evolve kind of community for me from May last year until right now and tell me some of your key findings about the sessions, about engagement, about audience size and growth and split and everything like that. I've got so much, I can't show it all to you. And I have become a total data nerd. But one of them is that the optimal session length is 20 to 23 minutes. Virtually speaking, don't go over 20 minutes. So if you guys are watching this session on demand next week, next month, or even streaming live right now, you know, we're going to keep it short. But yeah, the data showed that no session that was longer than 23 minutes in 18 months of content was watched in its entirety by the average evolver, which is the name for our community. That's the first thing that stood out to me. The second piece of data that really stood out to me was in the audience size. So if you can see, these are all our different kind of events and mini events within the Evolve community. These three are naturally the flagship events, obviously much more attendance because we invested in marketing and all kinds of things there. Green means that it's new audience, and gray means that it's existing audiences. Obviously the first one, all new because it was the very first time. But what is interesting for me here is that you should not neglect, you know, the retention of your audience when it comes to year-long content. These gray blocks are not nothing. Don't underestimate that. There's spikes in new attendees for the big flagship events, but the major part of your community is going to keep coming back month after month if you provide them with good content. That was something I thought I should share because it's sometimes tough for an event organizer or an event brand to prioritize, to know which one to prioritize, growth or retention, and I'm just going to say both.
Yeah, I've got a question that's come in. Being that you're in a live event portion of a hybrid event this week at ETL, is there anything that stood out to you as something to bring home or to apply to your next hybrid or in-person experience?
So are you asking what we learned from here, from being on site here?
Have you seen anything this week that you thought, oh, okay, we're gonna put that to maybe your own, because obviously you're a tech platform, right? But you running Evolve, so.
Well, I really hope we'll be able to run a hybrid version of Evolve soon that, you know, meet those people in person, just depending on, they're all over the world, so we've got to find the right spot for that with no restrictions. But yes, I mean, Adam and the team have done an amazing job here. It's only my second hybrid event ever that I'm attending in person, and I love the split of the virtual days, the in-person days, and another kind of virtual wrap-up at the end. I think that's very smart. That's something that I think works really, really well. And I've heard from, you know, I was speaking to the firstsight.media people this morning. They were telling me there's thousands of people watching online. Hi, and that's, I think, really because we've given that accessibility to them. But I'm sure that on Monday and Tuesday this week there was even more.
Yeah, Jamal, same for you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in the 2 days leading up, I was able to make so many meetings and make so many connections and people that couldn't actually be here today. It was funny because yesterday I had a meeting on the stand and everyone was looking at me like, what are you doing? I was speaking to somebody virtual. So I was sitting there physically in the stand and speaking to somebody virtual and holding the meeting that way too. So yeah, I think it's been brilliant the way that it's been broken up into the 2 days prior virtual, and then we've got the days in person for those that want to come down and meet people. And I've been at Swapcard for 12 months, and some of the colleagues that I've seen here I haven't seen for years due to COVID and people living abroad in different countries. So yeah, I really like the way that it's been broken down.
Nice.
So this is what our digital library, like the video library on Evolve looks like, because we store everything. I know that these sessions here at Event Tech Live, we were going to be able to watch next week, next month, next year. And it's very important to keep that content alive. So in terms of this on-demand library, you guys were just speaking about Netflix. The data shows that people want to watch content like they do Netflix. Don't tell them you have to watch this session at 3 o'clock on that Tuesday or else you'll miss it. Gone are the days. Like, we're used to getting everything we want when we want it, when it suits us. And this graph shows, the content that was consumed in the Evolve community during live versus after live. Green is during live. Of course, it's going to be higher because there's more people on the platform watching the event or watching the session at that exact moment. But after live is already a big proportion, especially in these bigger flagship events, because there's more content to be consumed. And if I show you the same graph, or not the same, if I re-extract the data and make this graph again 6 months down the line, maybe the on-demand consumption of our content will surpass what it was during live. So invest in Netflix-like options for your content, especially if it's great content, especially if it's timeless and pertinent throughout, years to come. Although that's not always the case with tech, in this subject, because things are changing so fast. But it's very nice for people to go back and look at it and watch it and press pause if they want, or take notes if they want. So Netflix is where it's at. Okay, Jamal, but I have a question for you now.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just
No,
taking
that's
over
fine.
here. Some people say virtual is here to stay, or virtual aspects are here to stay.
Yeah.
Some people are just like raring to get back to in-person events. What do you think?
What do I think? I think Bob used a great quote yesterday, and it was grow or die. I think if you want to stay competitive, if you want to, move into new regions, like I've said previously, then yeah, I think you're going to need virtual elements. I'm not saying that it's going to be virtual complete, but what I'm saying is you're going to have parts of the show which are going to be virtual. So I definitely say yeah, and I think, as you can see from the graph, that event organisers realise that virtual elements are here to stay. I think maybe the 6.2% who have said no, potentially events isn't their main route to market. If it is, then they probably won't be here in the next 12 to 24 months. But yeah. Also, like I said previously, what are we going to do with those that have had difficulty actually attending in-person events? So those with financial difficulties or maybe a physical disability, now that we're back to in-person events, do we just shun them and say, well, we're back in person now, so I think we've got a responsibility for accessibility.
Tech is here to stay. There's no getting away from that, and that means that we're going down a hybrid strategy road for events in the future. I don't think we'll see any events without some sort of tech-centric element to them. So going down this hybrid road, I know you've got a lot of clients that are either currently planning hybrid events, asking questions about hybrid, or actually running them like Event Tech Live. What are they experiencing?
Yeah, I think the biggest, what is hybrid is the question that I get the most.
What the F is hybrid?
Yeah, and I think the problem is that event organisers think that hybrid has to be 50% online, 50% virtual, and it doesn't work like that. I've mentioned earlier about the mix and the models and ideas, and 2 in-person days, 2 virtual days, or Convex had everything was in person, but the networking was hybrid. And DecoRX from Informa, they've gone for all in person, and then they've mixed up, and what they've done is they've done a virtual event afterwards, which is like a 3D virtual event. So you can mix and match and have different models of hybrid. So yeah, I think. Sorry, go on, Mia.
I'm just going to say that I agree. Hybrid can be anything and everything that we want it to mean, and probably in a year from now, we won't even be using the word hybrid anymore. It'll just be an event.
I agree.
It's just like a buzzword that everyone is either afraid of or embracing right now, but it's going to mean events in the future.
Yeah. No, and talk about the future, but if we've learned anything, that, expect the unexpected. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years. There could be change for rules, regulations, whatever. So I think that, we need to stay flexible and resilient, like I said previously, and prepare for the worst, which it's quite morbid to say, but it's the truth. I mean, if you had to describe or sum up the state of the industry in one word, what would you say?
What about you guys? I don't know. I'm quite a positive, like naturally optimistic person, so I'm going to go with something that talks about, the potential.
Yeah.
Potential. I think that's the word for me because, I mean, we're all in the tech industry here in events, and it's huge to see how much growth has happened in the last 18 months, more than the last 20 years, and how much potential there is for much more amazing growth, development, all of that. Potential for me. What about you?
I'm going to quote Bob again and say serendipitous, which is probably my favorite word.
Serendipitous.
Yeah. If it
So
wasn't
romantic, Jamal.
But, like I said, I've been away for a long time, and I'm sensitive. I need cuddles and hugs. And if it wasn't for coming to in-person events and meeting amazing people, and that I potentially would never have met, like you, Mel.
Thank you. Do you want to tell us what your words are? Submit them in the chat. I want to see what words you guys would use to describe the state of the events industry today.
Well, actually, did you guys ask for a survey question? Because one's popped up on Glisser.
Please share.
Yeah.
So the question to the audience has popped up. In the next 12 months, which events do you plan to run more of, in-person, virtual, or hybrid? So if anyone's on the Glisser app or can log into the Glisser, we can do a quick survey. Not sure.
How are we going to do it? Show of hands? Is there a poll option?
There's a poll option.
Ooh, share the results.
I know.
I love a poll.
So I think maybe if you are using Glisser online and here, if you guys all vote and maybe carry on for a little bit, and then we'll come back to the question. Oh, we've got the results already. Look, they're coming in behind you.
Let's see.
Just behind
you.
Sorry.
So what have we got?
Wow, that's quite a split. 43% hybrid, 43% in person, and only 14% virtual. What do you think of that, Jamal?
I still think there's confusion around the word hybrid, because if we was to look into the 43% that says in person, I think there would be some virtual element within there. So I still think it's an education piece.
And what's quite scary, I mean, here, literally, have a plan B and a plan C. Maybe for a lot of the ones that are organizing in person, have virtual as a plan B or C. I think that's very necessary. I'm taking the plane on Monday to go to IMEX, America in Las Vegas.
Show off.
Show off? Whatever. I'm very excited, but yes, a lot of us are here. And the borders are only opening to European residents on the 8th. That's the day before the event starts. Not to mention that we're going to be jet lagged as all hell, but we're just like in the nick of time, by the skin of our teeth, able to attend this event from Europe. Lucky for them, but a lot of events are not going to be that lucky. So I really think if you are planning international travel and big events that are 100% in person only in the next 12 months, don't. Like, have a plan B, have that virtual accessibility and option in case things go wrong, and even in case everything goes right, because then you'll have a much larger audience able to watch everything at the same time or after the fact, whatever.
A question's come in, actually, Jamal. I think it might be for you, actually. It's, hang on, there's a couple more that's coming above it. What's the, you and your team, 4,000 events. What's the best combo of hybrid you've seen so far? I'm not asking you to pick a client.
No, that's fine. It's, I think I mentioned it. It's the Informers, the Decorex one, which I think is really good, because they've got the in-person event, so everything was in person. And what they've done is after that, they've switched it to virtual, where they've got this 3D type of event afterwards, where people can go back into the sessions and watch the sessions. So they've done it so they haven't cannibalized the audience. They wanted everybody to be there in person first, and then for their international audience and everybody else, they can attend afterwards. So I think the Informal one's a good one. But however, I think Event Tech Live has done it really well. And like I said, we've had a lot of success from here. And I've seen Confex have done it really well. So I think there's some good ones out there.
It's interesting you say Decorex, because it's a beautiful show, isn't it? It's one that you think, oh well, it could only be live and in person.
Yeah, credit to Sam Fish and the team. Like, Sam's done really, really well there. She has.
I have another example. I don't work client facing, but I definitely follow what they're doing because I'm always looking for like case studies and success stories from our clients. One that I love is IMEX, is how they've designed. They've taken hybrid and extended it into the whole year. They're not just doing a hybrid event, they're doing a hybrid community. IMEX started 6 months ago in this build-up to, you know, their flagship IMEX America, like back opening up of the industry. 6 months ago, they built the IMEX Buzz Hub community platform on Swapcard. And they had monthly buzz days where they had 3-4 great sessions, some speakers that are going to be featured in Vegas next week. They had networking. They integrated with all kinds of things like Twine and all these other tools to do one-to-one and group networking. And they've created it's literally called the Buzz Hub. They have created buzz for 6 months leading up to this event. That is not only marketing genius, that is the epitome of community building, because now people that are going to meet next week in Vegas, potentially for the first time in person, are going to already have met and networked and discussed things in the chat for 6 months leading up online. So anyone who says you can't build communities online or you can't build relationships online just hasn't given it enough time, I think.
That's really interesting you said, because I've seen quite a few people say, oh, live events, people have been awkward going back to live events. So it's kind of like they've had the foresight to warm people, as you say, warm people up, warm audiences up.
They're absolutely front runners. You know, Karina is like out there leading, you know, a lot of things in this industry. And I told her, I saw her at PCMA's Convening EMEA event in Switzerland a few weeks ago. And I interviewed her on stage about how they're investing in data. And that topic obviously has been very pertinent here. A lot of data mentioned in the schedule of this event. But yeah, she was saying that she didn't know how they had that vision so early on, but they kind of just went for it. And she said her team was kind of crazy to trust her. And I said, no, they were very smart to trust you, because that's what we're hearing a lot of right now is community building and year-round engagement. And that's the best complement to any virtual, physical, or hybrid event.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Do you have more slides? I've got more questions. So what would you prefer, slides or questions?
Questions.
Questions. Are you seeing sustainability becoming a bigger reason to go virtual? I mean, you've got so many customers to look at. Jamal, and when they're coming to you, are they saying it's for sustainable reasons, or do you think that will just grow in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I'd definitely say, we've got, for example, we used to run an event when I worked at Ondemand, and it was a regional event. You know, it would be in London, it would be in Harrogate, and be in Edinburgh. Now we can just run the one event in London. Well, I say we. Now they just run the one event in London, and they've got people coming from all parts of the country down to this one event, and they haven't got to travel. You know, they haven't got the logistics, and of course it's saving costs as well. So yeah, definitely.
I was speaking yesterday to Anna Abdelnour, who's the founder of ILA. Now, ILA is a sustainability body in the events industry, and I interviewed her for a YouTube series that we're doing at Swapcard called WTF is Hybrid. And basically, I wanted to know from a climate perspective, from an environmental perspective, why is hybrid the future? Why is hybrid the necessary go-to? And she was just giving me, you know, facts and figures that I can't remember off the top of my head about the reduction in carbon emissions that an event is going to have if it's virtual or if it's tech-centric, or mostly virtual anyway, just for the international travel. Now, naturally, another thing that comes with that is data and storage, which is also produces a lot of carbon emissions. I think she said about 4% globally comes from data and storage. But there is a solution to that. Just carefully select the data that you want to track, store, and measure. But we can't just keep flying around the world like we have been for so many years. From an environmental perspective, tech-centric is the way to go.
I'm going to come and join you on the stage for the rest of the questions, because there's loads. And the poor cameraman, I'm just thinking of the virtual audience.
You should have taken a seat.
Yeah.
You should have taken a seat.
They're coming through thick and fast now. I think you've already covered this, but what did you think of the virtual IMEX experiences last year? Did you attend the experiences themselves?
Yes, I attended all of them. I spoke at one of them. It was awesome. The chat was on fire. It really felt like we were in this immersive experience, and it was great because it was short. There were about 3 sessions on every monthly buzz day. They were spaced out nicely, once a month, so you've got time to, you know, they're not asking you too much of your time. And it was about 20 minutes per session within a Q&A, so the perfect, according to my data, that's the perfect length. And it was just really fun because they also peppered them with nice interactions, like the polls, the chat, but also the networking aspect. They had Twine integrations with us on the Swapcard platform. We had video calls, and they had online roundtables, which Swapcard also provides, like group video rooms or audio only for those who didn't want to put on their camera.
There's a lot of talk around increasing budget to run hybrid. Do you have any comments on this? I suppose the growth of your business would say.
Sorry.
Oh, it's a lot of talk around increase of budgets in hybrid. Yeah. Do you have any comments on? Have you seen increase in budget?
Yeah, I should have put those on. Yeah, like I said, I mean, increase in budget. We ran an event last year, and I should have gone into a bit more on this. But if you've got an event that's travelling from London to Harrogate to Edinburgh to Glasgow to Newcastle, that's an increase on budget. If you're running a hybrid event in just one destination and you've got everybody from all corners of the country coming to you, plus you're still generating revenue through the virtual model and the in-person model as well, then you know you can make that budget back up quite easily. And we saw many experiences of that.
People on the panel earlier on were saying that there's some organisers who say, I'm going to pivot to digital, virtual, because it's cheaper. But I think I've seen some terrible examples.
I mean, that's case by case, really, isn't it? But yeah, I've seen some terrible examples. I've seen some very good examples too. So it comes down to education, really, doesn't it?
And your brand, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Don't be cheap, but also there's a fixed cost when it comes to budget for hybrid. You're going to have to spend more, but it's still capped. The revenue potential for hybrid is uncapped. So don't talk about or don't think about increased budget and worry about that without looking at the other side of the coin, which is exponential ROI increase, because you can do it digitally and in person, and you can make that last the whole year. You can charge sponsors and exhibitors 10 times more if they have that virtual access.
Somebody's asked, how long did it take you to respond to pivot from in-person to virtual? But did you run an in-person event before Swapcard?
No, so we didn't run our own in-person event before, but in terms of pivoting our platform, like building out a whole new platform, I mean, it was like a couple of weeks. It was crazy. I think the tech team, the product team didn't sleep for like a month. And then we came out with this very raw beta version of like, hey, here's our virtual platform. Of course, lots of things to fix. And that's also why we created this Evolve community I was speaking about earlier, because we told them, thanks for being here. You're all guinea pigs. You're going to test out this platform. We're going to use your feedback to improve it. And they were okay with that because they were just learning along for the ride, learning with us, which was really awesome. So we ran Evolve in May, and the lockdowns hit around March in Europe. So I would say, not more than a month and a half.
Do you think you'd pivot? You sort of mentioned it before. Now you've got this community. Yeah. Are you going to pivot the other way and take your online event to live events, into a live event? Maybe you can't say.
No, I want to. Oh. Of course, we're just really looking, for 2022, it's definitely on the books. We're just looking at, we're doing a bit of market research to see where the most of our community members are based, which countries, which regions, which cities, and then looking at kind of potentially gauging their interest in attending an in-person meetup. I don't want to say too much, but I think there's going to be more than one hub in Europe and the States or Canada, and hopefully have smaller regional meetups at the same time as this big virtual global meetup.
And I suppose if you guys always attend, you're going to IMEX and PCMA and you're here, so you're networking with your online community here, then, I suppose, yeah.
Of course. I mean, Mia can tell you more, but when Swapcard started, it was obviously to swap digital business cards at in-person events. So we've always been about in-person events, of course.
We've had a clarification. Sorry, the IMEX event question was meant to be focused around the Planet IMEX. Oh yeah, they did those amazing graphics. They Planet IMEX events last year in place of the physical Frankfurt and Las Vegas. Did you attend?
No, I didn't attend that one personally.
No, I didn't know. No, I remember the promo for it though. It's really, really amazing.
I see someone saying on-demand content is great, but we lose the ability to have live engagement.
Yeah.
That's not the point of on-demand content. Watch it live and have the engagement, and keep it on demand for a different purpose. They serve different purposes. That's what I would say to that.
Yeah, if you go back to television, BBC, iPlayer, and all those channels, they have on demand. It doesn't lower
But you can still, on Swapcard, and I know some other platforms, you can keep the chat and the Q&A and everything eternally on the platform. So if people want to see what others have commented, they can still kind of access that engagement that used to be live.
And must give your sponsors, if someone's sponsoring your event, it gives them year-long engagement, year-long viewing.
Of course, with an event, you have a start and you have an end date. You shouldn't have to wait 365 days to meet that person again, should you? You meet them on day one. You want to meet them in a week, the weeks after, the coming weeks. If I speak to somebody in January, I want that relationship still to be strong in February, March, April, and so on. I think the event is the start to build a relationship, but then you want to nurture and you want to grow with that relationship. So
I love that. And we're going to end on that because we just hit time.
thank you.
Can't believe you guys are the last one standing, last session of the day, and you're still here. Congrats. We will buy you a round of drinks.
Thank you to you
Jamal
both.
will buy you a round of drinks.
Thank you to you both for closing Event Tech Live London.